With that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
Right.
Everybody now has an opportunity to pull up their chair and have a seat.
For the past year, we've seen Sheryl Swoopes continuously target Caitlin Clark with strange accusations. She's claimed that Caitlin is a 25-year-old playing against teenagers, that her rookie season isn't impressive, and that no one wants to play with her. The criticism just kept coming.
Some of your peers, they will recognize, her game, but they won't recognize her impact.
Right.
How can you separate the two? It's kind of hard, right?
And I used to, Jack, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies.
Then, Cheryl Miller, the basketball legend and Caitlin Clark's former coach, stepped in to set the record straight. On the All the Smoke podcast, she took a swing at Sheryl Swoopes, calling her a big dummy and tearing down the false claims. Miller's strong defense of Caitlin Clark is not just about shutting down Swoopes, it also gives us a glimpse of an exciting future for the Indiana Fever. Fans can't stop talking about it. Are you ready to hear more? Let's dive in.
3-time Player of the Year, 2-time National Championship, 2-time Tournament MVP, first woman to dunk in an organized game, gold medalist. Thank you for making time. Welcome to the show, Cheryl Miller.
Before we dive into everything Cheryl Miller had to say, have you ever wondered why one of basketball's all-time greats seems so focused on taking down the WNBA's rising star, Caitlin Clark? Let's take a closer look at the strange campaign Sheryl Swoopes has launched against Caitlin, from her college days all the way through her rookie season.
Let's also talk about how much more experience that gives you over other players coming in, right? So people say, dang, like he or she's killing them, but you have a 25-year-old playing against a 20-year-old.
It all began when Swoopes made some wildly false claims about Caitlin Clark's college career. In one of her most outlandish statements, Swoopes said Clark was a 25-year-old playing against 20-year-olds during her time at Iowa. The truth? Clark was only 22 and in her fourth year, just like many other college seniors. When people called her out on this mistake, Swoopes tried to backtrack, saying it was just a bit of exaggeration due to COVID eligibility rules. But that excuse didn't hold up.
Caitlin Clark right now probably takes about 40 shots a game.
Carry on.
I know you like that.
Hell yeah.
I said that because when she comes to the league, regardless of what team she goes to that has vets on that team, she probably ain't gonna get 40 shots a game.
But Swoopes wasn't done. She went on to claim that Caitlin Clark took 40 shots a game, painting her as a selfish, high-volume shooter. In reality, Clark averaged 22.7 shots per game. What makes this claim even more ironic is that Swoopes herself took 19.2 shots per game in her senior year, just 3 fewer than Clark. Talk about throwing stones in a glass house. As Clark was getting closer to breaking the all-time NCAA scoring record, Swoopes changed tactics, questioning the legitimacy of the achievement by suggesting Clark needed a 5th year to break it.
You asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
Okay.
Right? So if Kelsey Plum set that record in 4 years, well, Caitlin should have broke that record in 4 years. But because there's a COVID year, and then there's another year, you know what I mean? So she's already had an extra year to break that record. So is it truly a broken record?
This claim was completely false. Clark broke the record in just 4 years, the same amount of time other college players have. Swoopes conveniently ignored the fact that the COVID eligibility rule could have given Clark a 5th year, but she chose not to take it. When Clark entered the WNBA, Swoopes boldly predicted she wouldn't dominate in the league. However, as Clark started breaking rookie assist records and proving herself as one of the league's top playmakers, Swoopes suddenly went quiet. The numbers told a different story. Clark finished her rookie season averaging 19.2 points and a league-leading 8.4 assists per game, shutting down the critics and earning Rookie of the Year honors.
Didn't say she wouldn't be good. What I said was I didn't think Caitlin or Angel would come into the league and dominate immediately, which I don't think either of them did.
Respectfully, there is absolutely no way, even when we're trying to sit here and play semantics about dominating, there's no way that anyone could ever leave this season in saying that both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese didn't dominate. You would have to further explain what dominance means for you to not sit here and say that a player who is leading the league in assists while averaging 19 to 20 points didn't dominate that season.
Perhaps most revealing was Swoopes' appearance on Angel Reese's podcast, where she kept undermining Clark while insisting that she didn't dislike her. It was a classic case of saying one thing but doing the opposite.
I've known Cheryl since she was in college. I helped do her shoe deal with Nike in 1993, took her to her first SBs. I've known Cheryl, I've coached her, have a lot of respect for her. I called her when Caitlin was still playing at Iowa and she had just broken Maravich's record. And it was all over the place, as you and I have discussed, that there was this quote by Cheryl that said, Caitlin was, 25 years old. She was, 24 years old. She was a fifth-year senior. Right. She was taking 40 shots a game. Her records were illegitimate.
The basketball world began to take notice of this pattern, and eventually, Swoopes was pulled from broadcasting a Fever game and replaced by Nancy Lieberman. Lieberman didn't hold back, calling out the misinformation being spread about the rookie sensation.
I got off the treadmill and I called her as a friend and I said, you can say whatever you want. You can have your own opinion about anybody, but you do have to get the statistics right. I mean, facts matter. And if you just get ahead of this and just say, hey, I made a mistake on my numbers, then this thing is over and everybody respects you for your opinion. And, you might like Boston, I might like the Yankees. It's okay to have difference of opinions. Well, she got upset with me on the phone, and I was like, Cheryl, I'm not doing anything to hurt you. I'm just sharing. We're talking. And so our relationship, it pretty much is not happening at this point. I tried to talk to her at the Final Four. Right. She didn't want to talk to me. My life's going to be good or great with or without Sheryl Swoopes in my life.
The basketball world was eagerly waiting for someone with real credibility to step into the Caitlin Clark conversation. That moment came when Cheryl Miller entered the All the Smoke podcast studio and absolutely shut down the critics. What happens when a basketball legend who's actually coached Clark decides she's had enough of the nonsense? You get one of the most genuine and powerful defenses we've seen in women's basketball.
Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies. Is she getting hyped? Yes. Yeah. But she was in the backyard. She was putting in the same time, sometimes maybe more than you were.
Right.
I can't fault her for what she was given.
Miller didn't just offer casual support for Clark. She came with fire and precision that only someone of her caliber could deliver. Her now viral two-word response to critics like Swoopes, come on, you big dummies, had the whole studio erupting. But Miller wasn't done. She passionately defended Clark's work ethic with the conviction of someone who's seen it up close. This wasn't just another talking head defending Clark. This was Cheryl Miller, one of the greatest to ever play the game, calling out the hypocrisy surrounding the young star. She pointed out something the critics conveniently overlooked.
Look, as much as she was given, you can't tell me if that door would have swung the other way where she didn't live up to the hype.
Right.
Come on, folks are still waiting for her to fall.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yep.
So, with that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
It's the uncomfortable truth that Clark's critics don't want to admit. Her presence has elevated the entire league, including the paychecks of those criticizing her. Clip 12. What makes Miller's defense so powerful is that she's not speaking from speculation, she's speaking from direct experience. After coaching Clark in the 2024 WNBA All-Star Game, Miller had a front-row seat to evaluate Clark's game beyond the highlight reels. And what she discovered even surprised her.
You recently coached the WNBA All-Star Game. You spent some time with Caitlin Clark.
Best coaching job ever.
Best coaching job
Best
ever.
coaching job ever.
Being around Caitlin Clark, how was the experience with her? She's such a big star. The sky's the limit for her. To be around her, just talk about the type of person she is, how much she loves the game.
I'm going to be honest because it needs to be said. I can relate to that young lady, and I felt for her. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to be hated. I know what it's like to be a black woman and hated because of my color.
Yeah.
I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't the truth, Miller said, effectively dismantling months of media spin in just one sentence. She didn't stop there. She went deeper, offering rare insight into what truly makes Clark special.
I can't imagine this young lady, I don't want to use hate, but despised. Mm-hmm. And people just having, she brought some on herself a little bit because she's cocky for a good reason.
Mm-hmm. Confident.
And I love that about her. But to watch the dynamics and the media, they had their narrative. And I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't the truth.
Behind Miller's technical breakdown of Clark's skills lies something far more meaningful, a genuine emotional bond forged during Clark's toughest moments. When the Fever finally secured their first win of the 2024 season, Miller didn't just congratulate Clark, she gave her something almost no one else had, unconditional support, exactly when the rookie needed it most.
Watching her pass, and I didn't know how talented she was and how well she sees the game in a 3D version, thinker. Defensively, a lot better than I thought and gave her credit for. So watching her and just spending a little time. And one thing, guys, that I've learned is to step back and let these kids be themselves.
That embrace between Miller and Clark after Indiana's first victory wasn't just a casual moment between basketball figures, it was a turning point that showed just how isolated Clark had felt amid the storm of criticism surrounding her entry into the league. Miller remembered the raw emotion of that moment. I gave her the biggest hug I could. When she saw me, she said, "Oh man, finally somebody who's on my side." She was getting hit with everything, left and right.
She was getting hit with everything left and right, and I just said, I hugged her. I said, "I'm so proud of you." I go, savor this. Use this as a formula. I said, but keep being you. I said, no matter what, keep being you.
In that vulnerable moment, Miller didn't just offer empty words of comfort. She provided the kind of guidance that only someone who's walked a similar path can give. "I'm so proud of you. Savor this. Use this as a formula, but keep being you, no matter what. Keep being you." These weren't just comforting words, they were a lifeline to a rookie overwhelmed by expectations and scrutiny.
Heavy as a crown that she's wearing right now.
Right.
And it wasn't something that she anointed herself. It's something that's been placed on her head. And I hope people understand that. But it's everything that she's dealing with. And I gave her the biggest hug that I could. And when she saw me, she's like, "Oh man, finally somebody I see that's on my side."
Right, they can relate.
The one thing that I said to her, and she was heading into her senior year, was have fun. No matter all the static, just make sure you find that quiet place. You can set a screen for Kaylin. Kaylin don't need a screen. Kaylin's got great handles. The one thing that I don't think people really appreciate about that young lady's game, she passed the ball.
She can't pass. She got great assists.
She
the bounce pass is powerful,
which is almost non-existent in the game. I love what they've done for the women's game from the collegiate level to now, and it's working. And it was only a matter of time. And great narratives, great storylines, but now the bottom line comes down to one thing. It's about basketball, and it's about wins.
What advice, if any, did you share in that meeting with Kayla? Because I know that she spoke very highly of you, got great respect for you.
I've known Sheryl for a little while now. I think her energy, that's what I love about her. Like, it's just contagious, and it's fun. I've known Sheryl for a little while now. I think her energy, that's what I love about her. Like, it's just contagious, and it's fun. Getting to be around those two people that have done so much for the game, for me is super special. Like, there's still two people that I really look up to and idolize and appreciate everything that they've done, and for them to have this moment too and be a part of it, like, it's just super cool.
Holy smokes. What an opportunity. And I was excited, like really, really excited, till I found out that the team I'm coaching wants to beat the brakes off our Olympic team. I'm like, okay, the pressure's on. So now we got a game, folks. We're going to have a game, but it's been fantastic.
And people that came well before today's game, they were skilled. They were incredible. The spotlight is now enhanced, and give these women credit. They have certainly elevated the game, but there are some truly, truly great players that could play today that played yesterday.
And you know what? And I love the way that you said piggyback, because in no way, shape, or form am I not appreciative of where the game is at and the exposure, because we get exposure. Everybody forgot Lynette Woodard until Caitlin Clark broke her scoring record.